Karen, can
Here we
you
go.
read the
Okay,
opening
I'm gonna
statement?
start now. Say that again, Steve.
Karen, would you mind reading the opening statement? I lost my screen here.
Uh, I would if, hold on a minute. It's just,
I can get it back here. Just give me a second.
okay.
Where did it go?
Claudia, I don't think you started it. Still says
No,
we're in
I
practice
did
session.
not. I did
Okay.
not since he doesn't have the opening statement.
Okay.
Do you want me to send it to Karen, Steve, or you wanna wait? Or you wanna look for it?
Yeah, why don't you send it to
Okay.
Karen? I
Okay,
only
give me
have
one
this one.
second. It's, I sent it. Let me know if you get it.
Okay. Huh, here we go.
Okay, one second. I'm gonna start the meeting.
Okay.
Ready? Okay. Watch what you say because you're gonna be recorded. We're on.
All right. I'm going to read the opening statement for tonight's meeting. This is a special meeting of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment being held electronically via Zoom on June 3rd, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. Adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given by prominently posting notice of this meeting on the official bulletin board at the Princeton Municipal Complex, by filing a copy with the Clerk of Princeton on May 19, 2026, and by posting a copy on the municipal website homepage as a public notice.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Yep.
Claudia, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Chen,
Here.
Ms. Colton,
Here.
Mr. Floyd,
Here.
Mr. Shriver,
Here.
Mr. Tenenbaum, Mr. Stein,
Here.
Ms. Donna, Mr. Dobkin,
Here.
Chairman Cohen.
Here.
Thank you.
We have one case on the agenda. It's a continuation of an April hearing. It's case number Z25-702, 1128 Great Road, block 3.01, lot 4.01 in the RA and RB zone. We left off, I believe, at the conclusion of the presentation by the applicant. Is that correct?
No, I think we concluded, testimony was being presented by Christopher Barr, who's the manager of the entity which is going to be acquiring one of the subdivided lots. I don't know if he finished this testimony, so I think we need to hear from their counsel, Bob Casey, as to how they want to proceed right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Mr. K? Oh, there we go.
Is
Yeah. I'm putting my name in now, not to be confused with another Casey that might be on the panel. Um, thank you all. And thank you for your hospitality and this special meeting, foremost. Yes, we finished, we didn't quite finish Christopher Barr's testimony. I've got a few questions for him, so I would like to call Christopher Barr back to speak a little bit and answer some questions.
Mr. Barr, I know you were previously sworn, but we'll swear you in again. Do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Claudia. Now I just got to figure out how to do it. All right. share. Can't miss that. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes,
Okay. So this is what was previously marked as A1 that
Correct.
Mr. Barr was testifying to earlier. Let me zoom out a little bit here. If I can do that. Who the hell knows? That's my son.
big fish.
Maybe too much.
Yeah. Hold
We
on
have
here.
we have to swear the fish in.
All right.
Florida?
So, yeah, so this is what Mr. Barr was testifying about. And as I'll just bring you up to speed and I won't put words in his mouth, I promise. What he was talking about is how great 1128 Great Road is for what's adjacent to it, right? And how it ties in beautifully to the it's now preserved forest in Princeton. So what I wanted to do, Mr. Barr, is if you could tell us, I know there's some questions and maybe it was in some of the reports as well about access and ownership and those types of things. If I were to zoom in and actually, can I do another exhibit too,
Sure.
Karen? It'll be
Sure.
A2.
Okay.
All right.
And A2 is what now? This
A2 is going to be the subdivision plan,
subdivision plan. Okay.
okay? Prepared by Eric Rupnarain.
And do you have a date? Can you see a date? I don't think I
Uh,
can. It's still too small.
I
But
know, let me see here. It was the last revision. Oh, Christ, I went the wrong way. Hold on. I think it was November 25.
okay.
November 2025.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it is. Eric can tell us better. Hold on, let me see here. Let me go in a little bit more. Yeah, November 25th, 2025.
Okay.
Okay. So, Chris, you were testifying earlier about the campus and the proposed subdivision and its great location. There were some questions about ownership around this new subdivision. And if you could you tell us a little bit about lot 4.05, which was part of and created as part of the last subdivision that we had, and it's right down here. Could you tell us about that, please?
Yes. So as I mentioned in my testimony previously, I am involved with managing two nonprofits, Woods and Wayside International, as well as Ridgeview Conservancy. And Ridgeview Conservancy is a local land trust. And over the last 2 years, Ridgeview Conservancy has been engaged with Princeton Academy of the Sacred Heart to purchase lot 4.05, which I think you're pointing to there, Bob. Yep, which was a 3-acre undeveloped lot that was subdivided 2 years ago from the larger Princeton Academy property. And we concluded that purchase specifically for the purpose of conservation. We raised money from private donors within the community, as well as from Mercer County to purchase that. At roughly the same time, Ridgeview Conservancy also purchased a 6-acre conservation easement, which runs along the western boundary of the Princeton Academy property. No, the western boundary. And between the lot 4.05 and the conservation easement, this will provide public access to that large tract, the 187 acres of forest that's been conserved that runs adjacent to Princeton Academy.
Great. And as you can see on the map here, there's an access here, and I'll call this like the back entrance to Princeton Academy. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And that's going to remain, correct?
That will remain in place. And prior to Ridgeview Conservancy's purchase of lot 4.05, Princeton Academy put an easement in place that is recorded with the deed that provides for the school's continued use of that back access drive, as well as the utilities that run across lot 4.05.
That's great. Thank you very much. And now let's direct our attention to the Great Road and up to lot 4.02, which is this parcel up here that was also created when we did what I'll call the first subdivision. Can you tell me about lot 4.02, please?
Yes, so lot 4.02 is a 4-acre lot that through the subdivision process was given permits for residential development. And as I mentioned, I co-manage two different nonprofits, Ridgeview Conservancy as well as Woods and Wayside International. And a year ago in July, Woods and Wayside International purchased that lot again for the purpose of conservation. Purchased it from Princeton Academy. And our intent is to conserve that lot and potentially provide public access trails. A portion of that lot is covered by Princeton Academy's baseball field. And prior to purchasing it, we agreed to Princeton Academy having an easement for continued use of that ball field for the life of Princeton Academy.
And so fair to say that there'll be no development ever on lot 4.02 or on lot 4.05, correct?
That's the intent. And just to be very clear, lot 4.05 has a deed of conservation restriction in place, and that has been recorded with Mercer County. Mercer County has secondary enforcement rights to that. Currently, lot 4.02 does not yet have that. That will require some additional fundraising, and but that is our intent to put that in place.
Thank you. I don't think we got to it the other night, but could you talk to us a little bit about just the day-to-day operation of Woods and Wayside and this site, and in particular the manor house that'll be part of it, that type of thing? What do you foresee?
Sure. So our interest in purchasing the manor house is to use it as an office space and as a convening and meeting center for an initiative that we've started called Forest and Climate Training, or FACT, FACT. And the FACT initiative is aimed at training the next generation of environmental stewards and advocates and leaders. And it's not a new organization. It's an initiative that has been catalyzed by Woods and Wayside International together with Ridgeview Conservancy. And it is a network of partners and partnering with organizations and initiatives both locally, regionally in the US, as well as internationally. As I mentioned in previous testimony, Woods and Wayside International has worked or collaborates with partners specifically in the Brazilian Amazon as well as in Indonesia, and partners working in a number of other countries around the world. So we will be using the Manor House as office space for this FACT initiative, as well as a convening and meeting center. Over the last year, in collaboration with Princeton Academy, we've hosted a number of meetings there already, and it's been a terrific place for that. Yep.
Can you point to the manor house, please? Which is the original mansion.
That's correct.
Right, okay. So the school will not use that anymore?
I think that they'll use it in connection with Woods and Wayside.
There are provisions in our discussions for shared use of portions of the manor house.
Okay, thank you.
Can you clarify what you mean by shared? Like what specific uses would the school be using the manor house for? Like classrooms or something else?
That's a very good question. And what we've envisioned and what's been discussed is that Princeton Academy of the Sacred Heart would continue to use at least two offices in the Manor House, and then would continue to have access to the Manor House for a number of events through their school year. For instance, school graduation. I think there's an annual tradition of hosting a reception at the Manor House or holding graduation ceremonies or some portion of the graduation ceremonies in the Manor House or outside the Manor House.
And
I just,
Thank you.
can I ask a question? So that the Manor House is going to sit on the Sacred Heart property, the remaining Sacred Heart property, or the original Sacred Heart property.
no,
What happened?
No,
so if you look here, Mr. Cohen, the subdivision line is going to be right here.
Yes.
Okay, and coming down here, boom, 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 and that's why we have all these variances. Mr. Bridger and Mr. Foote pointed out to us because it's a really unique thing, so we could, preserve the integrity of what's on the ground since no construction.
Okay, so the Manor House is part of the new subdivision.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then that answers the question. My question was going to be, what happens if for some reason the Sacred Heart School is not there anymore? Not physically, but not operating as a school.
Yeah, I mean that there'll be a piece of property with a school on it that, could be sold, could be, I don't think it could ever. Yeah, I mean, it would be sold. It's there in a conditional use in a residential zone. So,
Right.
future wise, it's on a conditional use currently. Hopefully after tonight, there'll be a use variance that runs with it and allows this to happen. And, it would be this acreage in the RB, RA zone because it's kind of odd zoning in there, but that's what it would be.
So all the easements and access easements and everything else would go with it if it's approved this evening.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry
Any other
to jump in, but that answers the question about easements, but there's still I guess it's more for awareness than anything else, but the municipal land use law in New Jersey does require frontage or at least access to for all developable properties. So as a result of this subdivision, just want to point this out, mainly for the board's awareness. Any future development, any future use of the site. The school obviously is there right now. It's not planning to expand, not planning any new construction, but any future development would then have to show how access is being maintained to the site, specifically for public safety vehicles, fire trucks, police vehicles, things of that nature. So that's just to piggyback off the question that Chair Cohen asked. Less a question because I think it's more so about any future potential uses that would be affected, or even future development of the site by the academy that we just need to be aware of that this would cause as a result of that MLUL requirement.
I concur.
Nathan, Nathan, as you
Yes.
indicated in your review memo, the applicant would need to provide the proof that there's adequate emergency vehicle access now to the school lot, right?
Yes, yeah, but I'm sorry, I should have said I'm assuming that that's going to be part of the testimony.
Got it.
They've showed that there are easements and that there will be easements, so I'll await that further testimony if there is any further testimony, and then I will also let our land use engineer also opine on any issues that he sees with that access, if he sees any.
Yeah, that's right. And again, there's no plan for development. Nothing is going to change. It's a status quo in terms of access currently through the existing easements that we have. But you're right. Eric, our professional engineer, will say something about that, I'm certain. As opposed to
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to interrupt too. Jim Purcell here, acting land use engineer, since Nathan has teed this up and I was hoping to wait through the whole to have Mr. Barr's testimony be complete.
Mr.
But
Purcell, I was remiss. I should have sworn you and Mr. Foot in originally, which I will do now. And
Okay.
Taylor,
we were
Are
sworn
you-
in last time, but
I know you were, but we'll
Okay.
swear you again. And Taylor, you're somewhere, so you would, we'll swear you in as well. Do you all swear from your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
As the land use engineer for Princeton, our concern, my concern, and I think all of the land use team's concern is not the current uses and the current, all of this testimony says, well, we're going to be doing this and this and this, but there is the possibility of this property being sold. And so our concern is what is the status of these easements in perpetuity in the event that, say, the Sacred Heart School decides to sell off their property and it gets developed as a multifamily home development, as could be done. So we would like to hear testimony as to how these easements will remain in perpetuity and how any future owners of these properties would be able to utilize and have access to either Great Road or Drake's Corner Road. And that really is the thrust of our memorandums. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's for a future application for someone who's going to develop that property, and not before the board currently, but yeah, understood.
I'm sorry, Mr. Casey, I don't want to debate this, but we deal with this all the time in Princeton, where the zoning board has allowed for landlocked lots. And we're in a situation now where owners of those lots have no recourse to utilize those lots. And we just want to make sure that rights of any future owners are preserved. Not wait until an application from a future owner comes in and say, well, how are you going to acquire the rights that you need in order to make this property usable? That's our concern.
I think you're right, Jim, and it's very important to this application.
Okay. Mr. Barr, there is on this plan that is A2. Let's get back on track. There is an area here in the middle that's gray. Can you talk to us about that? It says proposed easement for use of existing lawn area. What does that mean?
Sure. And maybe just before responding to that, just to complete the record, going back to Mr. Foot's last question to me about the shared use of the Manor House, I also want to mention that there would be a library with books related to environmental education, as well as a natural history museum that is being created by the students at Princeton Academy through a shared or a joint forest program that Woods and Wayside International and Princeton Academy are currently implementing. So to your current question, the area that you designated in our discussions with Princeton Academy about purchasing the proposed subdivided lot with the Manor House, Princeton Academy requested to have an access easement to that gray area. It's currently a lawn area where during recess hours, students use it for playing games, running around, and so forth. And so what's envisioned there is that the Woods and Wayside, in purchasing the Manor House lot, would agree to provide an access easement to Princeton Academy that would run for the duration of Princeton Academy's institutional lifetime. It would not carry forward to any future user. I think the question came up in Mr. Foot's letter, questioning why would there be an easement as opposed to the lot line being drawn around that. And the rationale there is that, as we've stated from the outset, part of Woods and Wayside's intention in purchasing the property from Princeton Academy is to put it under conservation, heat of conservation restriction. And we're able to do that with an easement on it, but that's part of the plan that we've discussed from the beginning with Princeton Academy.
Thank you. Also in the back of the property, top left, I'll say, it says proposed easement for maintenance and access. So currently, what is housed back there right now?
So currently, there's a cottage and I think 3 garage spaces. I believe that was originally constructed when the manor house was constructed in 1930, 31. That was the chauffeur's cottage. And that is where Princeton Academy's current head of school lives. The parking area in front of it is, I believe, often used by Princeton Academy to park their snowplow and their lawn mowing equipment and the salt for keeping the roadways open and so forth.
Right. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Barr?
I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions for Christopher Barr? He'll be here all night.
Not right now, but we are going to ask questions as the presentation concludes, so.
Great.
If I may, we did receive an email from Mr. Barr at 4 o'clock this afternoon with those conservation easements as attachments. We have not had the opportunity to review them, but they do seem. I've glanced through them, and they do seem to be in order for the conservation purposes.
And my apologies for not getting those to you any sooner. It was in re-reviewing the letters in preparation for tonight's meeting that I realized that I hadn't yet sent those to you. So you do that.
Understood.
Mr. Cohen, I did have a few questions for Mr. Barr, but I can hold off if your preference is to wait until the end of the presentation.
If you want, I'm comfortable asking him now. You can ask them now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So you noted that it was going to be, in terms of the uses, I just wanted to clarify about the number of employees, first of all, that are going to be there on a consistent basis, if any. And secondly, about the events that would take place, how many people are usually would be expected to attend those types of events? What kind of parking is needed for those kind of events?
Right. So in terms of number of employees, I think that's something that would develop over time. As I mentioned, the Forest and Climate Training Initiative is a network of partners, and we would envision there being shared use with these partners of the office space. I think probably at most we would be looking at 18 people at a time, using the offices on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
As for events, they would range from small meetings with a handful of people to occasional larger events, which would make use of a property that can support larger events. As I mentioned, we've had several events over the past year. Some have been, day-long or 2-day seminars. We had Princeton Anthropology Department held a day-long retreat there, and I think they had 30 people. We hosted an event for a group of about 40 Brazilian scientists who were working out a methodology for producing the first 3-dimensional map of the entire Amazon basin. We had a book launching event for Jonathan Kingdon, the world's leading authority on African mammals, and I think we had 110 people. And all of that was very manageable with this
And,
facility.
But
and
you
that was
probably,
at, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, so that was at the Manor House that those events took place?
Each of them was at the Manor House.
Okay. And how did parking work for those events?
Um, so where we had groups of people, for instance, they were coming from downtown Princeton. Um, and each of those events, they rented a bus and sort of came as a group and got dropped off. And the bus came back later, and we coordinated with Princeton Academy around school drop-off and pickup times, so there wasn't a conflict there. Um, the one larger event was an evening event, and so with the permission of Princeton Academy, we were able to use the parking spaces, not just on the proposed Manor House lot, but both in front and around the back of Princeton Academy. We had student volunteers that were directing the cars, and we really didn't have any problem.
Okay. That's I guess the last question, actually two more questions. First of all, having the cursor up there reminded me of it. You testified as to what that building and that maintenance and access area is used for currently. Is that still going to be used for the same purposes that you noted?
Yes,
At
it
least
would.
while at least
Yes,
while Princeton Academy is still for its institutional existence.
um, yes, it would be. And we would be providing continued residential space for the head of school as long as she's the head of school to live there. Um, I believe that we had agreed on a 2-year timeline for that, but that can be extended pending further discussion. The parking area for the snowplow and the lawn mowing equipment, that's the best use of that space.
All right, thank you. And then the last question I had for now was just going to be about the public access. Obviously, a big part of this is that it's going to be conserved. There's going to be some kind of public access, and I just want to clarify what that public access looks like. Are people allowed to park on the site and access it that way and access the open space to the west that way, or is it strictly walking through the site to get to those to that western area?
Right. So that's a great question, and that's certainly a core part of our interest in this Manor House property. To go back to our earlier discussion, through Ridgeview Conservancy, we purchased the 3-acre lot on Drake's Corner, lot 4.05, as well as a contiguous 6-acre conservation easement that runs up just west of the access road, going up to the back of the property. And as we've indicated, those two parcels are already under deeds of conservation restriction and public access. And so we have already put in a small parking area right around where the cursor is, just north of the fire pump. I guess it's just south of the fire pump station or the fire pump access there. Yeah, it's right about where the cursor is. And I believe that is capable of holding 4 or 5 cars. And it's an impervious surface. I'm sorry, it's not an impervious surface. It hasn't been paved. But from there, there's a trailhead that would lead up to the northwest corner of the property and a trailhead that goes into the trails. And as I mentioned, the trails go all the way out to Promised Line Road. And so that, the 153-acre wood and the 2 properties adjacent to it that Princeton Municipality recently conserved no longer are only accessible from Promised Line Road. There's also an eastern access point here. What our hope and intention is in purchasing a parcel with the Manor House lot and the land surrounding it would be, we'll need to raise some additional funds to do this, but would be to put deeds of conservation restriction on the additional land, and a public access trail that would go all the way out to the Great Road, and potentially onto lot 4.02 that Bob was showing earlier. We do not currently envision putting in a new parking area. The parking area on Drake's Corner Road would be able to access any of those trails. And then it raises a larger question about eventually when the sidewalk along the Great Road is completed, and we hope we can partner with the town to see that happen at some point in the foreseeable future. It would allow anybody in the community from downtown to walk up the Great Road, and if there were a safe crosswalk, then to access these trails that would cross what is currently Princeton Academy's property and get out to the 187 acres and out to Promise Line Road and points beyond. So that's the larger vision.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's continue.
Great. Thank you, Chris. I'd like to call Carlos Rodriguez, please.
I'm here. Can you
Mr.
hear me?
Rodriguez, do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Rodriguez. If you could you give us a little bit about your educational background, please, sir?
Sure thing. So I have a master's in city and regional planning from Rutgers University, from the Blaustein School, where I also taught for many years. I've been a professional planner in New Jersey for over 30 years. I'm a past president of the American Planning Association New Jersey chapter. I'm a member of the College of Fellows of the American Institute of Certified Planners.
We will accept you as an expert in your field.
I'm also
Thank you.
I'm also a past chair of the Princeton Township Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Right, you had a great lawyer who was on that board.
Oh, excellent.
One of the best.
One of the best. We got along swimmingly.
Okay. If you could I think it's important to understand, the history of this parcel in particular. If you could walk us through maybe a little bit of the history of the RA/RB, that would be great.
Will do. So the RA and the RB zoning were adopted by the township, the former township, in 1996, if I'm not mistaken, prior to consolidation. At that time, the town officials were concerned about conventional suburban residential development in the area generally known as the Princeton Ridge, which was known to have unique geological qualities and geomorphic qualities. The town didn't believe that conventional suburban residential development on lots of, let's say, an acre or 1.5 acres, which is a typical subdivision template that had been applied to most of the lands in the former township, was appropriate for the lands in the Princeton Ridge. And as a result, the town sought to essentially downzone that area by increasing the required minimum lot size. However, there were concerns that property owners would challenge the legality of the downzoning. And to avoid legal challenges, the town sought to justify the downzoning on the basis of the unique geomorphic features of the Princeton Ridge. Other towns in New Jersey, for example, Hopewell Township, had been successful in upholding downzonings in the courts on the basis of scientific studies of an area's natural features that directly linked their geomorphic characteristics to requirements for enhanced lot sizes. The general principle was that the underlying natural features should determine what is commonly called the carrying capacity i.e. the minimum lot size, rather than some abstract zoning template. To that effect, the town hired a well-known Philadelphia planning and landscape architecture firm, Wallace Robertson Todd, to undertake a detailed study of the underlying natural features of the area. And the overlay maps prepared by the consultant are actually referenced in the zoning language of section 10B-256.1 of the Township Code, which are the special provisions relating to the RA and RB zone, and are supposed to be on file with the Township Engineer's Office. I don't know if they still are. Maybe. Anyway, following this study, the town adopted this new RA and RB zoning districts. The limits to these districts, unlike most other zoning district boundaries, which follow property lines or street right-of-ways, they don't follow any of that. They were derived from the WRT study of the underlying soil and geologic conditions, which explains why they're wiggly. They're sort of all over the place. And the rezoning was adopted, and to my knowledge, it was either not successfully challenged or was sustained in court. I don't know. But that explains this unique zoning that affects this property, which is actually in both RA and RB zones.
Right.
So the RA and RB zoning only allows single-family detached housing with farming as the principal permitted uses in the districts, both districts. It allows conditional uses, including, and I can read this list to you, but maybe we'll skip that. But one of the conditional uses is public schools and private nonprofit schools. It also includes childcare centers, nursery schools, and places of worship and cemeteries. Now, conditional uses are authorized in a district if they are able to satisfy all the stated conditions. If the zoning lacks a list of conditions which the conditional use is required to satisfy, it can be argued that the conditional use should be viewed actually as a permitted use, subject only to the conditions required of every other permitted use in the district. And I could read to you case law on this, but I'm not going to. Just take my word for it. There is zoning elsewhere in the township in a completely different place where existing structures may be used for the following uses: offices, meetings, educational seminars, classrooms, environmental display areas, and other community activities related to environmental education, land preservation, and education purposes. And these are the very uses which the applicant proposes for the existing manor house.
And just so that conditional use, I'll call it an overlay or a carve out, just for perspective here, was really intended, and this is Derek Bridger, and it might have been Mr. Purcell educating me on this, was that the history of that was for the DNR Greenway area on Rosedale Road, right? Because all that area in there was carved out, and this was a permitted conditional use for that specific spot.
I didn't know that, but that makes perfect sense. Yes.
Yeah, I only mentioned that because when I was going through all this and learning it, right, I'd stumbled on that because it's in the conditional uses. And I said, hey, wait a minute, this eerily is
exactly what we're looking for.
Right, exactly what we're looking for this evening in terms of use would be in the environmental education, land preservation, and educational uses that are permitted in section 10B-272.69, which are the bulk requirements for that. So carry on.
If I may, I'm sure it was Derek that pointed that out, but for the benefit of the board members, I believe you're talking about the Greenway Meadows and the Johnson Education Center, not the Public School Center, which is
Yeah.
very similar to this, where the DNR Greenway provides conservation education services at the Johnson Education Center in the Greenway Meadows property.
And I believe they have offices in there as well.
And
But-
they do, yes. This is almost identical to that. So, yeah, Bob, I just wanted to make sure the board knew what you were talking about.
Thank you, because I butchered.
That's absolutely right. And unfortunately, that's not the zoning district we're in. So, thus we're in front of the zoning board. Anyway, back to the application. So in 1990, so this property has a lot of history, which I'm not going to get into. But in 1999, the Princeton Academy of the Sacred Heart applied to the Township Zoning Board for an interpretation of the continuing non-conforming use ordinance, which is section 10B-329 of the former township's land use ordinance, as it applied to the use of a former monastery, in a separate building known as the Manor House on what would be the Princeton Academy of the Sacred Heart property. Now, this ordinance provision reads, any nonconforming structure or use may be continued upon the land or in the structure so occupied or used, and any nonconforming structure may be restored or repaired in the event of partial destruction thereof, but no such structure or use which is abandoned shall be reinstated. Cessation of a use for a continuous period of 1 year shall create a rebuttable presumption that such use has been abandoned. The memorializing resolution that the board adopted at the time describes some of the property's background. The convent building, and this memorializing resolution, by the way, was attached to Derek's zoning memo. The convent building was built in 1960 as a school for novitiates. It was subsequently used for a variety of schools, the Princeton Montessori, a Jordan Day School, and lately the Princeton Academy of the Sacred Heart. The board's memorializing resolution granted the convent building status as a protected non-conforming school within the footprint of the convent structure. The resolution does not address the manor house. It's my assumption that the manor house was viewed as an ancillary structure associated with the functions of the main building, the convent. In other words, I believe the manor house was viewed as an accessory use to the convent. Now, the current application doesn't interfere in any way with the continued educational use of the convent structure. However, as you've heard, the use of the manor house would change. The school has over the years made the manor house available for outside activities such as weddings, bar mitzvahs, graduation parties, and so forth. And in good weather, the school has also made available the grounds in front of the manor house as overflow space for outdoor events. As you've already heard, the current proposal is to use the manor house for educational activities unrelated to the school, although not completely unrelated, such as small conferences, lectures, retreats, and so forth. And the main focus of these activities is environmental education. So let's get to the nature of the relief requested. And I'm referring here to Derek's review memo from March 25th, 2025, which identified the relief requested. Specifically, a variety of bulk or C variances for lot frontage and building and parking setbacks. Now, I note that these are pre-existing conditions which the applicant is unable to address for obvious reasons. But the application, I would also note, does not increase the degree of nonconformity in any way. The Derek's memo indicates that the application also requires 3 other forms of relief. Another C variance for impervious coverage on the school convent lot, a D4 use variance for floor area ratio, and a separate D or use variance for the manor house lot. The impervious coverage variance for the school/convent lot is a pre-existing condition. No new impervious coverage is proposed anywhere on the property. So this is really an artificial variance for which is brought about because of the proposed subdivision. The proposed subdivision reduces the amount of land that is used to calculate the floor area ratio, and therefore triggers the need for the variance. But it's not increasing the amount of impervious coverage in any way, shape, or form. So it's really a technicality. The floor area ratio, again, is a pre-existing condition as no new floor area is proposed. I might also add that the bulk standards in the zoning that were adopted for the RA and RB districts were tailored for the primary permitted use, which is detached single-family housing. So it's meaningless to try to impose those bulk standards on either the convent building or the manor house. They're never going to be able to conform. So finally, the zoning officer's memo identifies the need for a D1 use variance for the manor house lot. Because the manor house lot will no longer be associated with the school, or at least not 100% associated, it can no longer legitimately be considered as an accessory structure or an accessory use to the school. It in effect becomes a principal use on its own lot. But the practical implications of this are limited. The manor house will, for the most part, no longer be available for the school to rent out for non-school related activities. And instead, the manor house will be primarily used by the applicant to promote the organization's mission. So that's the relief that is being requested as part of this application. Now let's turn to the master plan and how the master plan might view this. The 2023 Princeton Master Plan under land use goals, page 19, lists number 6, protect and restore environmentally sensitive features and natural resources. The current application promotes this goal. No new construction or disturbance is proposed on a site that has been occupied for already many years. And instead, the applicant is proposing to apply a model of stewardship to the site, in effect reversing the deleterious impacts of invasive species and over time, creating a more healthy and self-sustaining landscape. So to my mind, this application clearly supports this land use goal in the master plan. The master plan also mentions under community facilities goals, which is on page 22, a series of goals that are relevant to this application. Goal number 40, provide high-quality municipal educational and cultural facilities to meet the needs of Princeton residents. Goal number 45, integrate green technology and sustainable design into municipal and school facilities to the greatest degree feasible. Goal 54, remove and replace non-native plantings. Goal 55, manage nuisance and invasive species. Goal 59, foster stewardship and management of already preserved lands and natural resources. And then under open space and conservation goals, which is on page 23, goal 67, reduce the threats to natural landscapes from pests, disease, and non-native invasive species. Our master plan has a lot of goals, many. The proposed application, I think, clearly advances all of these goals that I mentioned. And so my conclusion is that the application is largely consistent with the master plan and certainly does no damage to it. The master plan's land use recommendation for education mentions the need to evaluate existing schools and educational facilities for appropriate zoning. Had this recommendation been acted upon, we would probably not be here tonight. The master plan in a section titled Recommended Zoning Boundary and Regulations, which is on page 48, also specifically addresses the RA and RB districts and recommends that the two districts be consolidated. In other words, the master plan doesn't recognize the need for a distinction between these two districts anymore. And then finally, under conservation, open space, and recreation, which is on page 169, the master plan reads, preserve significant contiguous woodland resources through amendments to zoning requirements and maximize contextual planting and native and adaptive species. So in my mind, the proposed application appears to be in complete sync with the master plan and completely consistent with that document. Now, are there any adverse impacts to the zoning framework? As I mentioned, the RA and RB zoning is a product of its time, and for all intents and purposes, it has outlived its usefulness. As I mentioned previously, the master plan recommends collapsing the two districts into one. But in any event, the proposed application, which makes no changes to the built footprint on the site, appears to me to coexist very comfortably with the intent and purpose of the RA and RB districts. And so I don't see any adverse impacts whatsoever to the zoning framework from this application. Are there any adverse impacts to the neighborhood? I think it's apparent that the application will have no adverse impacts on the neighborhood. It is unlikely that the neighbors will even notice any change. And the creation of a public access trail through the property connecting to a larger preserved open space network will be an amenity that certainly the neighbors will enjoy, as they will the enhanced environmental stewardship of the property. So with respect to the proofs, I would argue that the site is particularly suitable in that it can be repurposed for the proposed uses without any change other than the new lot line. I would also argue that the application materially advances certain purposes of zoning as listed in the municipal land use law, specifically purposes A, I, and J. Purpose A is to guide the appropriate use of or development of all lands in this state in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. That's a high bar, but nothing, I would hope you would agree, nothing in this application would compromise any of those desirable outcomes. And the trails themselves, the access to this trail system leading to a larger preserved open space network can be an important component of a public health strategy. Then purpose E, or I, I'm sorry, is to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design. In this case, the desirable visual environment already exists. The Manor House is a jewel. It's an absolute architectural gem. So this application is preserving it, not creating it, but it's not threatening it in any way, shape, or form. And finally, purpose J is to promote the conservation of historic sites and districts and to prevent urban sprawl. While the property has not been officially recognized as historic, there is no question that it has considerable historic interest. And the application preserves and promotes that and will bring it to the attention of a wider public. And I think having the Woods and Wayside nonprofit in charge of the Manor House is likely to help with any issues of continued deferred maintenance that might, trouble that historic building. So we're definitely addressing that purpose. So as I see it, this application addresses and satisfies both the positive criteria and the negative criteria. Mr. Casey, is there anything else you'd like me to cover?
No, I think you did a great job. I love the history piece of it as well. I think it's important to understand that and where this all came from. So thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Board members,
Just for clarification, and I forgive me, Mr. Rodriguez, but I thought I heard you say that you don't really think an impervious coverage variance or FAR variance is needed. Did I hear that correctly from you, or?
No. The
Okay,
variances are real, but they're triggered by the subdivision. And I didn't run the numbers, but if you recall earlier, there was a discussion of the two lots that had previously been subdivided. I don't know if you were to count those lots as being still there, whether those variances would be triggered or not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the point of the fact is nothing in this application other than the subdivision is causing those variances to be triggered. So in a sense, it's a technicality, and it's unrelated to the reality on the ground, because the applicant isn't proposing to increase the impervious surface. It's just that the fraction that's used to calculate the impervious coverage is changing because the site is being subdivided and now it's smaller. And so the same amount of impervious coverage is triggering the need for the variance. The variance is real. It's just that it's not being caused by anything that the applicant is proposing to do.
it's just a higher percentage based on a reduction in land.
Exactly right.
Anyone else, or we can also ask questions at the end as well, like Mr. Cohen
Do
suggested.
that. We can do that at the end.
Yep.
Board members, do you have any other questions of Mr. Rodriguez? Okay, let's keep going.
All right. I'd like to call Eric Rupnarain, please.
Sir, could you spell your name for the record? I don't see him on my screen yet, but
He's there.
there you are. Okay. So I'll just read it
Mr.
back.
Casey, do you need the screen up? If not, can you take it down?
He's going to be talking about it, but I certainly. Oh, my
Okay,
sharing
that's
of it
fine.
is.
That's fine.
Oh, I gotcha. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Mr. Repnarian, do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
Eric, if you could, for the board, could you give us a little bit of your experience and educational background, please, as a professional engineer?
Certainly. I am a licensed professional engineer in the states of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I've been licensed in New Jersey since 2003. I graduated from Villanova University with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering in 1997. In 2001, I received a master's from the same university, also in civil engineering. Since graduating in 97, I've practiced land development throughout New Jersey. I've appeared in front of this board and numerous other boards throughout New Jersey.
I would offer Mr. Roopnarain as an expert professional engineer, please.
We'll accept that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Eric. So you're familiar with this site as you were the engineer and master of the first subdivision plan that we had back maybe 3 years ago, 2024 or thereabouts.
Yeah, correct.
I have up here on my screen your subdivision. Could you just, and you tell me if you want to share your screen if it's better or what, but I'd like you to walk us through this subdivision map if you would, sir.
Okay, certainly. If I could share my screen, it'll be easier for me to navigate through.
Yep, I'll get out.
Okay. Okay, so the original tract, which is lot.
If I could, just 1 minute, Miss Casey, is this still the same map though, Eric? Is it 11-25-25?
Yes.
Okay, so this can still stay A2.
Okay.
Thank you. Proceed.
So the original lot was approximately 35.35 acres and was identified as lot 4.01 as part of the prior subdivision. What the applicant is proposing to do is to subdivide the existing lot into 2 lots. The school lot, which will be approximately 12.4 acres, that's located along this northerly section of the property. And then the manor house lot, which is located to the west and also to the south of the school lot. The manor house lot, the manor house lot is approximately, it's approximately 22 acres, a little over 22 acres. Right, presently, access to the property, to the school property, and all of the improvements are provided via 2 driveways. The existing driveway to Great Road, this is approximately 20 feet wide paved driveway, and it provides 2-way traffic into and out of the property. That driveway is not being proposed to be modified in any way, shape, or form as a result of its application. The way the driveway currently exists, the driveway will ultimately remain the same. The second point of ingress egress is another paved driveway that only connects to Drake's Corner Road, and that is this driveway here. This driveway provides access to the pump station that currently services the school property. Additionally, there are several utilities that extends through the manor house lot or the proposed manor house lot that provide service to the school property. And then similarly, there are additional utilities that extends through the access or the frontage to Great Road that also provides service to the manor house lot. Presently, there are 70 striped parking spaces within the paved area. There's a gravel parking area that's located at the northerly side of the school property, but this gravel parking area, approximately where my cursor is, that gravel area is not striped. The striped parking areas that are located on site within the pavement are located throughout the property and also around the school property. Along the northerly side of the school, there's a series of parking spaces that's located along the northerly side of the Manor House. Again, this is the Manor House property or the Manor House building. There are parking spaces that are located along the north and then also along the east of the Manor House property. The remainder of the parking spaces on site are located to the south, approximately here, and here on the school lot. And then additionally, there are additional paved parking that's located to the east of the school property. Of the 70 parking spaces after the subdivision, approximately 21 parking spaces will be located on the Manor House property. Those parking spaces consist of the parking lot that's located here, and then also the parking lot that's located to the east of the Manor House. The remaining 49 parking spaces will stay with the Manor House, with the school lot. Again, the applicant is not proposing any changes, any additional construction, any new improvements. The property as it exists today will remain the same if the board approves the subdivision. Additionally, the area to the northwest of the school and north of the Manor House, this striped area here presently, this is where all of the dumpsters that currently service the entire property is located. And the current proposal will leave the dumpster at the same location. And the final aspect of the applicant's proposal, if approved by the board, would be the creation of this new easement within the lawn area. And the purpose of that lawn area previously is to allow continuous use or continued use of that area by school students. Essentially, that is the applicant's proposal for the subdivision. Again, we are not proposing any new construction, any additional impervious surface on the property. Everything as it is today will remain the same after the subdivision if it's approved by the board. We're not anticipating any changes whatsoever to the site as it currently exists.
Eric, we heard from the municipal engineer last time about the first subdivision and the corner markers from that subdivision. Have they been installed from the first subdivision?
Yes. So as of Monday of this week, January, all of the property corners as required by the original subdivision have been installed, and the appropriate certification will certainly be provided to the board and to the town's engineer.
Thank you. If you could just quickly talk about how we came up with the lot line that we're requesting here. It seems maybe self-evident, but was there anything sophisticated behind the thinking?
So the thought pattern behind the irregularly shaped lot line was to follow the natural improvements the way they're constructed on the property. About the only location where we somewhat comply with the ordinance is this section of the proposed lot line where it's perpendicular, or the proposed lot line is perpendicular to the existing property line. The remainder of the lot line, as the board can see, attempts to follow some of the improvements that currently exist. So for instance, the lot line is angular in order to keep the parking lot on the school's property. And then the lot line comes through the parking area, and then it attempts to follow the improvements, access to this parking area. We have one of this building number 2, which is used by the school. There are outside improvements that we're attempting to keep on the school's property. And then similarly, as we move around and along the lot line, it starts to follow the existing parking area that we anticipate the Manor House property will use, and that will be shared with the school. And again, as we move further through the property, we're attempting to follow all of the existing physical parking and other infrastructure that exists. And then finally, as we move towards the south or the proposed southerly lot line, again, we're following the existing paved driveway, which is located here. And then the property line follows around the existing paved parking area. And then ultimately to close the boundary of the proposed schoolhouse lot, the property line extends and crosses the proposed driveway and intersects the existing property line approximately here. So the intent was to provide as much of the existing improvements within the lot that's ultimately going to be used by the school. And then all of the remaining properties would be on the Manor House lot. Most of the improvements are on the school's property. The majority of the open space or unimproved portions of the property will be located on the Manor House track.
Gotcha. And the black dots are going to be pins that are going to be set, correct?
Correct. All of the property corners as recommended in the professional's review memo, all of the property corners will be set.
So the entire subdivided piece that the school will have will be landlocked,
Correct. With the exception of that,
covered by access easements and things like that.
correct.
Other than the pins that you're going to place at the nodes, you're not going to have any improvements there. There's no fencing or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Eric, can you speak a little bit about the proposed easement areas? And I'm not sure if you can speak to the conservation easement area, particularly the 6-acre area on the western side of the property. Are they going to be delineated by meets and bounds? And will they be also monumented?
I don't believe we've actually, on our side of the table, discussed how the easements, whether it's potentially a blanket easement across the property, since we have access easement, utility easements, there's existing sanitary sewer easement. There are numerous utilities that are located throughout the property. We haven't really gotten to that point where we decided if it's going to be a blanket easement to permit all of the existing infrastructures to remain in their current form and to permit maintenance and replacement as necessary, or to physically delineate them. I would certainly defer to Mr. Casey. If that's the direction that we're going to go, then we can certainly delineate the easements on the plans.
And well, as you saw in my memo, my primary concern is about the utility easements that are not even shown on this plan for several of the utilities that serve the school. But the primary easement that I am concerned about is the 6-acre conservation easement that Mr. Barr testified to, and that have not seen a meets and bounds description of that, nor have I seen a meets and bounds description of the proposed easement for use of existing lawn area. How do we know what the limits of those easements are if they're not recorded on either this plan or in a deed of easement? I did get a chance while we were discussing this to review the conservation easement for the 6 acres. I did not see a meets and bounds description.
So, Mr. Purcell, are you going to be able to, I won't say approve, but recommend approval of this application without having these in place that you can review and
Oh, I don't see why they couldn't be conditions.
right, good. I thought
I
so
mean,
too.
from an overall standpoint, though, if I may, as I said earlier, our concern is about future use, not current use. And Mr. Barr testified also that they're planning on placing a conservation easement on the rest of the property that will be lot 4.06. that will preclude sale of the school property to a future owner that may want to convert it to a residential development, which is the allowable use in this area. And a conservation easement that follows the wording that's in the current conservation easement for the 6 acres would preclude the ability for a future developer of the school property to construct a road to serve those properties or a driveway or expand the driveway.
They would have to use what currently comes off of the corner of Drake's Corner and Great Road.
Yeah, the one that they would have to continue to use the existing because the conservation easement that currently is for the 6 acres restricts the ability of constructing a roadway except for the use of educational conservation. So I'm just envisioning 20, 30, 40 years in the future when this property is no longer a school and it gets sold and it won't be saleable because they will have a conservation easement in perpetuity that restricts its ability to have access to a public road. The conservation easement for the 6 acres is an easement to the county, and the county would have to agree to abrogate that easement for some future use. That's my biggest concern about this.
If that would happen, that would happen whenever another user came before somebody, either the planning board or the zoning board at some point in the future to propose development of the school property.
Correct. And also, from the perspective of the school itself, if they were to decide to sell this property, the highest and best use would be residential. And if it is not able to be developed as residential, they are restricting themselves by subdividing this land. So just trying to put it all out there so everybody understands our concerns from the municipality standpoint as to what happens with a landlocked parcel such as this, particularly when conservation easements are placed on it that restrict future use.
Yeah, if I may, great point. I think what's different here is that the proposed subdivision now will have an access easement from Great Road to what I'll call the school lot, right? So, and there's no conservation on that proposed parcel yet, right? So, and when I'd have to go back and check the recordings, frankly, and you can obviously make this a condition of the approval, which I do understand, is that there's an existing, and I believe there's an existing access easement, driveway easement from Great Road to the campus now, to across what will be preserved in the future, right, to the school proper. So if any future owner or purchaser of what I'll call the school lot would have that access from Great Road to that parcel.
Use of that roadway or some roadway?
No, that road. Well, so that I'll call it the main
existing
entrance to
roadway.
the school. The main entrance. I don't have I'm not sharing my
I'll stop.
my map.
No, I understand. I understand what Mr. Casey's trying to say is that any future owner would continue to have the access rights as long as they're using that existing driveway, essentially.
Keeping in mind that is, I won't say it's narrow, but it's not anything that might be useful to a subdivided multifamily development.
Correct. It may not, and we haven't looked at it this way. Nobody's proposed it. It may not conform to RSIS for a future residential development. Um,
Quite frankly, is that our problem right now, or is that the applicant's problem right now?
just laying it out there so that the zoning board has all of the facts and concerns of our staff. The current conservation easement that Mr. Barr just testified, they may they may place a conservation easement on this, but the current conservation easement for the 6 acres on the property says that you have an ability to construct, maintain, improve, replace, or repair roadways, bridges, paths, and trails, fences, stiles, interpretive and directional signs, and related and associated structures necessary for the public's recreation and conservation use, access, and convenience, provided that following completion of same, the grantor provides notice to the grantee. Now, um, the grantee is Mercer County. The grantor is Ridgeview Conservancy. And that does not say that you could construct, maintain, improve, replace, or repair a roadway for the purpose of residential development. That's
Or
my only
whatever,
concern.
or whatever might be developed there. But
Or
again,
whatever might be, yes, whatever use. But the current zoning allows residential development.
but not to minimum, I think you're exactly right, but it would be incumbent upon the school
Correct.
to make that determination what they want to do now, as opposed to waiting till some point at which it may be possibly subdivided. Or
Again, and
redeveloped.
that's why I mentioned that it actually restricts the school's ability for a future sale of the property.
Right, you're right.
I think the neighbors that might be here are probably in favor of that. But what Mr. Purcell is referencing with the 6 acres is off of Drake's Corner and this back corner over here, if you can see my cursor. Right? So that's here is the conservation easement that he's speaking of. What I'm talking about is access from Great Road over here. This is the main drive for access back here. Okay, so currently this area, except for these 6 acres, is not encumbered by a conservation easement. So the school and Woods and Wayside are going to, and I have to check, I think there's one that's already been recorded, and I will circle back with Mr. Purcell gladly, for access across this parcel on the existing driveway to the school. So any future development could have access to Great Road through this driveway easement to back here. But you're right. It's a future concern for someone. But it's not completely landlocked. It has access to Great Road.
Has access to Great Road, yeah.
And I'll just repeat what I said, that I hadn't heard until tonight with Mr. Barr's testimony that he said that they hope to do a future conservation easement on the remainder of the land once once this subdivision takes place. That is my concern. Thank you.
And that conservation easement would be the school property as well?
No.
Just what we're calling the manor lot property.
Just the manor
No.
lot property, and so the school property, including the access to the Great Road, would not be included in that.
Right. Well, what we're going to have to do
That
is
was not what was testified to. That's the concern. Mr. Barr testified that the remainder of the lot 4.06 to be created may be placed under a conservation easement. If the conservation easement language in the 6 acre portion is the same language used for the rest of the lot, there is a restriction on the ability to construct a road for any purposes other than those environmental purposes. It just it's a nuance that needs to be brought to daylight. That's
That
all.
road is any change in the existing roadway that currently exists.
Yes. That is the way I'm reading it. I'm not an attorney, but I'm the land use engineer, and it looks like it would restrict the ability to expand that driveway to serve that property in the future for any use that may require an expansion.
That would truly be up to the applicant
Yes.
if they want to do that. You've made it perfectly clear to them. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to make a suggestion. I don't know if Mr. Casey intended to do this, but the engineering and zoning report has a number of staff comments,
Yes.
and they would appear to be in within the purview of your engineer, Mr. Casey. So I'm going to ask that he goes through it. That would greatly facilitate the preparation of any resolution in the future. So
100%. You
thank you.
took the words right out of my mouth.
Great.
Eric, you and I walk through the engineering and zoning report, if we could.
Okay,
We go to page 2. Staff comments. The applicant notes that a waiver is also being requested from checklist item A5, completed checklist. But this is a typographic error. Meant to mean A4, so that's nothing to do there. Applicant provides explanations for these waivers. And could you talk a little bit, Eric, on our waiver requests that we submitted? There, yeah.
certainly. So the waivers are requested. First one is a fire protection plan. Again, the applicant is not proposing any improvements, the typical fire protection plans. Part of what we did in support of the waiver, all of the water mains along the frontage of the property, along Great Road and also along Drake's Corner Road, those are shown. All of the existing fire hydrants along the frontage of the properties, they're also shown on the subdivision plan. Again, since we're not adding any improvements, any new buildings or any new structures, we felt it might be appropriate to request a waiver from the fire protection plan.
Master plan designations B12. I think you did that.
Yeah, I think that deals with the bike lane and the sidewalk areas along, I believe it's Drake's Corner Road.
That's correct. A waiver from steep slope locations that were on the map. I believe ours are already shown on the map. So again, nothing is proposed in terms of construction here or improvements. So we would request a waiver on C4, C8
Correct.
as well, right? The trees, we actually have the trees are charted on the second page of A2. I'm sorry, the third page of A2 has tree locations and tree masses on it. So I don't know that a waiver is appropriate because it's on there. Locations of streams and ponds. I don't know that there are any.
We don't have any on the property.
Percolation, so no perk required in soil logs because there's no septics
Septics.
proposed or improvements proposed.
Correct.
Oh, and they even say in our note, I should have said this first, there's no objection to this information not being shown. That's in staff comment 2 on page 2.
Correct.
I'm on to, I don't know. This is about as thick a memo as you're going to get, everybody.
I think, Bob, if you jump to page 6, this is
Yeah.
where we have staff comments beginning now.
Page 5. Okay. Bulk variances, building setback.
Hold on. One. Staff comments at the bottom of page 6, a reasonable
Yeah.
determination of the front, rear, and side lot line should be determined. And I think that this was actually raised at round 1 by, I forget, maybe Mr. Foote had talked about staff recommend that the southerly line be considered the front lot line. So do you want to show your map again?
Sure. And let me,
Sorry.
okay. So again, the school lot as proposed is completely landlocked. So the reference to the southerly property line would be this proposed lot line that follows along the parking area and the driveway. That will be considered the front yard. The rear yard would be the northerly property line, which is this property line here, and then the side lot lines would be along the right and then also along the left-hand side. So those revisions and the appropriate setback dimensions can certainly be added to any revised plan.
So we're okay with that, correct?
Yep, we're fine with that.
Okey doke. Number 2, subdivision plat has been reviewed by the municipal's land use survey. There looked like some cleanup here, Eric, in number 2.
Correct. And I reviewed with the township, with the town's surveyor, and we can certainly make the revisions that he had suggested to the meets and bounds descriptions in order to get the lot lines to close or the new lots to close.
All right. Number 3, same thing. Is that something that could be taken care of?
Yes.
All right. We'll do that, Karen.
Okay.
Number 4 is pins that we did at the 12th hour, literally yesterday.
Yes. So
Great.
all of the previous pins have been set, and all of the new property lines, if it's approved, they will also get marked.
Great. Number 6 says the applicant should address how the access road and utilities will be considered under this application, as no easements have been proposed to allow for the relocation of these elements. So, yeah, I can. Mr. Purcell, are you requesting that they be put on the map? Or
I think it's very important that they be identified on the map. Particularly, again, I look at the future uses. What is the guarantee that water service, for example, will come from Drake's Corner Road across essentially someone else's property to serve the school without an easement?
Right.
And I think the utility companies themselves would like to see easements because they do not prefer they prefer not to cross private property to serve a customer on another private property without having an easement. And none of the utilities coming off of particularly Drake's Corner Road show any easements associated with them. That's what I would like to see.
Okay, there are some easements that are on the map now, but I understand what you're saying there, and I think there are other existing easements which we'll chart. Is that good, Eric?
Yep. No, we're fine with that.
I agree.
So-
Yeah, I mean,
so
I'll point out one very obvious one: sanitary sewer easement. The sanitary sewer for Building 3 on the school lot crosses through the future lot 4.06, but there is no easement associated with it. So, you know, in any scenario, the owner of lot 4.06 could truncate the sewer lateral and lot 4. What is it? Lot 4.07 that we're proposing would no
Yes.
longer have access to the sewer. So an easement is required for that sanitary sewer. And Eric, you just zoomed in on it. So if you could point at it where I'm talking about. There are existing sanitary sewer easements, but they do not go to the property line.
So it's this section. Here's the
This
property line,
section,
the
this
proposed
the
property
section
line.
that doesn't have the easement. That's just
Yep.
an example, but you have water, you have electric, I think you have gas.
So to
So-
be clear, earlier this evening, I guess a question was raised as to whether the applicant could do a blanket easement. I'd recommend against it. I don't know how Mr. Purcell feels, but I'm assuming from his comments that he would agree it's important to actually show the easements instead of just
Yes.
simply recording a document that says it covers everything that's there. All right, then we're in agreement. And this is acceptable to the applicant, Mr. Casey?
Sounds like it.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, Mr. Purcell's right. There's no denying that. I'm just trying to save my clients a few bucks, that's all. But you're right. Should happen. And will happen. All right, that's number 6. On to
Then
page.
then we got the site plan criteria comments, and there are some staff comments on that,
Yeah, on the next page, right?
right?
Yep. How the applicant should address how the condition of approval of the prior subdivision is being applied and how the access drive is being utilized. So I think there was testimony to that, and there's no change there, but there will be, and there already is, an easement that goes across lot 4.05 off of Drake's Corner Road.
And I would say that comment has been satisfied. That was my comment, by the fact that the future owner of 4.06 owns lot 4.05, and has placed the conservation easement on both properties, the 6-acre easement and 4.05, and that access will continue to exist. So I no longer have a concern about that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
This is to reconstruct. So we can't. Let's see what you say there. Requires subdivision applications to reconstruct existing roadways contiguous to the property of the center line of the road requirement. So we actually had this at our last subdivision application, and it was waived simply because there's no construction that's proposed, and this is, I think, more in line with a development that's going in. If I'm not right, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, and I think
Yes.
that was our comment.
I didn't read far enough, but thank you.
Read through it and say we agree.
Well, when you're live, I gotta, but feel free to chime in anytime.
No, this is the same situation as the prior the prior subdivision, and we agree that no improvements to the public roadways are required.
All right, same goes with the next comment. I just got
Correct.
to the bottom. It says staff also concurs with this opinion.
Correct.
Good. Nothing to do there. Should address the existing access from Drake's Corners being used. We've done that.
Correct.
Correct.
The parking for the entire site is now being divided. We gave testimony as to parking and access as well. And actually what does happen, and it is it's part of the partnership, is that Mr. Barr testified earlier about when there is an event and school is not there, that the Manor House is permitted access to use those parking spots that are around the school, I will say, for use at the Manor House. So that's an agreement between the school and Woods and Wayside.
Mr.
ample
Purcell, are you suggesting that there should be cross-access easements, or simply the reference, as Mr. Casey's indicating, that the school and the future owners of the Manor House will have an agreement to allow parking?
I think my comment was really related to not specifically parking, but the fact that that access from Great Road traverses the new school lot in order to access the new manor lot. And a cross-access easement agreement should be in place, but I don't think that, I think that's between the two property owners.
Okay.
Yeah, and the same thing with the parking. That's between the two property owners. Any future use of these properties would not need to have that kind of a cross-access easement, I would suspect. But that is something to deal with in the future.
Regarding the parking, Mr. Casey, when you said there's an agreement, is that a written agreement or is that just?
I don't, I'm not sure if it's a written agreement at this time, but because this is still pending, but currently it's an unwritten agreement. I don't think that there's a writing yet, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to know which one. Thanks.
Next one is waste collection. We talked about that. Not going to change.
Correct.
Wait, the easements for the utilities crossing,
Oh yeah, we already.
We just talked about that. Yeah, we
Okay.
talked about that. They'll take care of that.
We talked about, I'm on the next page now, Karen, 5.0. We talked about 1, and that we're going to change the front yard to be the southerly lot line. We talked about Eric talking to Mr. Sandusky and making those corrections that Mr. Sandusky had.
Right.
Same with number 3. Property corners have been set for the prior subdivision. Thank God. New pins for this subdivision. Access and easements and how they work. Mr. Purcell's comments are in number 6. Mercer County Planning Board is required, and I'll get you that. I'm going to apply for that next. Pedestrian bicycle improvements. That's number 8. Requirements to reconstruct roadways. We talked about that, and we're not doing anything on that. Easements. Again, easements are everywhere, huh? Jeez. Gotta love an easement. Waste collection we talked about. Whew. Planning report.
yeah, there were a couple of questions in here that Mr. Foote raised. I think, I don't want to speak for him, but I think primarily one important point was paragraph 7 regarding the Manor House lot, and then he has other comments in which he's asking for some response.
I think most of this was covered. So starting at number 7, is that what you think?
I think so. Nathan, what do you think? Up till then, it sounds as if everything's been addressed.
Yes, everything's been addressed. I'd say most of 8 has also been addressed. But just as a summary, I think that would be good to go over. Yeah, I think everything after, starting at 7 and then everything after that, just if we can summarize anything that's already been discussed.
Yep, they have a contract to purchase the property, and their intent is to preserve the lot. And this is a contingency of that contract. I think we talked about that in the first go around. And I spoke in this is all as to number 7. In the event that doesn't happen, then we simply have a minor subdivision approval with bulk variances and a use variance that runs with the land to then market potentially to some other like-minded entity to Woods and Wayside.
So, Mr. Casey, are you you're proposing then that the resolution of any resolution would recite then the commitments that Woods and Wayside has made, and that if it doesn't bind them because they don't buy the property, ultimately it will bind or need to bind whoever does.
No, I mean, it's a use variance, right?
Yes.
So the underlying uses still would remain. That's not being changed. So it's still residential. It still has conditional uses that run with it. And now it'll just have a use variance for preservation, education, conservation, those types of things.
Okay, so basically, I mean, that's what's the reliance on, let's say, conservation is what's being used to support the use variance. So you're in agreement then that if it isn't Woods and Wayside that ultimately purchases the property, those restrictions would still appear in the resolution, so that some other owner would say, oh, okay, well, that's what I'm obligated to do then with the property. Is that what you're asking, Nathan?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying
No, wait, Mr. Casey. Nathan, isn't that what you were asking?
That's pretty much, yeah, that's a pretty good summary of what the concern is if this is subdivided, if it gets recorded, what happens if the purchase doesn't go through? Yes, the use variance is there, but what I'm hearing from Mr. Casey now is that it's an option, that the proposed use of the property is not what it's is one of a multitude of well, not a multitude, but he listed the options: residential, subject to restrictions based on the RA and RB zones. But that is the question and the concern with the subdivision and with Woods and Wayside, if that purchase somehow doesn't happen.
It just further encumbers the land.
Yeah, I mean,
any change has to come before some body in this municipality for approval.
But
and possibly county approvals.
Yes, but I
don't know how else to say
I think Mr. Foot's concern, though, is that the special reason that's being advanced to permit the manor house to be used as an office space or a meeting center is that the specific purpose, which is for conservation and preservation.
Yeah. So what if if they don't buy, right?
Right.
If they don't buy, the school still owns the property.
Correct.
Right. So the school could sell it. Right. The school could sell it. Someone who, because it's in the residential zone, someone who wants to build houses could buy it from them. Right. And they'd have to come and get site plan approval. They'd have to do everything because it's a permitted use in the zone. Right. But if it falls through, we have another potential group of purchasers like DNR Greenway or SADC or some other conservation group out there that could step in and be able to use this use. I mean, they'd have to be able to prove, right, that not unlike any other use that you have to be able to establish that you're actually using it consistent with the use variance or the zoning ordinance, right? So they would be able to use it, but it only layers on another use to the property.
Okay. All right. I understand what you're saying. Okay.
Does the board understand?
That's what the law.
I understand. It just further encumbers, it further restricts development of the property.
Well,
it only further restricts development of the property due to it being half the size now, or a lot smaller. It's still a residential
and the
zone.
additional conservation easements
with all the restrictions and the access easements and everything else.
Correct.
Certainly with the 6 acres that's already been recorded. You're right, Jim. It would hamper that.
I just wanted the board to understand that a developer could purchase this for residential if if Woods and Wayside doesn't buy it, but it will be restricted by all of these other conservation
Right.
easements and whatnot. So,
Well, right now, there's only one conservation easement,
correct.
the
Yeah.
6 acres. So
The
that's the only
6
thing that's
acres.
there now. So,
Yes.
but yes, you're correct.
They couldn't come in and do a residential development as of right.
I think they could.
They
It would
Yeah,
just
could.
be pretty
Yeah, they
small.
could. Yes, they could.
It would probably be a single family residence. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
Okay.
be a
All
subdivision
right.
with
So
multiple
that, so
lots.
somebody could use it as a single family, as an individual property.
Yeah, because of all the restrictions on it, it would be very difficult
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
subdivide and build single family homes on this
You
property.
know what could happen is some rich guy like you, Mr. Cohen, could come in and buy the manor house and live in it as a home, right? It's zoned residential, and you would have a beautiful property.
Yeah.
So
I'd have to live in a trailer, but that's a separate issue by myself. But no, I understand that. So it just, doing this further encumbers the property.
I don't know that that's the right word, frankly, because
Right.
it doesn't encumber it. It just is another potential use for it.
Okay.
And I think I understand the concern, because on one hand, yeah, the property's more encumbered or burdened with restrictions, but on the other hand, this particular subdivision and the shape and the size of it is, as one board member, myself, is related to, the current party who, Wayside. It's all predicated on this presentation, and I don't know that I would approve, this subdivision for at this size and shape for a different use. That's one of the things I've, gotten from Mr. Foote and Mr. Purcell also. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Mr. Floyd. I don't disagree with you, sir.
Yeah, and I think that's
Pretty
why
unique.
Karen and Mr. Foote raised it.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty unique. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and if this subdivision survives, if Wayside walks away, then the board should be aware of that, and I thank staff for making that.
Still cruising through.
I'm sorry, I believe one of the board members has their hand raised.
Or
Or no, sorry, not board member. That's Mr. Barr. Sorry, I apologize.
I just thought I should just add a comment, because it seems like there's a lot of discussion going on now about the possibility that Woods and Wayside might not purchase the property if the subdivision were approved. And, this subdivision application is based on a deeply negotiated plan that has been developed between Woods and Wayside and Princeton Academy of the Sacred Heart. And, while I can't go into details as to, what agreements exist, I can say that there is not a reasonable scenario that Woods and Wayside would not follow through and purchase a property from Princeton Academy with the Manor House lot and the surrounding land on it. So I think what's being presented here is a plan that, if the approvals are granted, has an extremely high likelihood of going forward and being brought to fruition.
It's not absolute.
No, nothing is. Yeah. On to 8A, we talked about employees. There's testimony on employees, the use for office and convening. public access to open space to the west of the properties. We talked about that. And you stop me, Mr. Foote, if you need more.
No, so far, so far I have the notes that correlate to these, so you're good so far.
Okay, thanks. Proposed property boundary between the school lot and manor house is situated so that 2 parking areas are provided on the manor house lot near the manor house. Applicant should indicate whether this is enough parking to suit the purposes. So I think we covered that. We covered that with, the agreement that will be between Pash and the manor house or Woods and Wayside in terms of overflow parking when the school is not in session. That covers 8E. No fencing, that's 8F.
On that one, let me just clarify. So you're saying that no fencing will be proposed. No fencing proposed at this time, or I'm just
None proposed at this time. I don't think that there's any intent to put up fencing, but that would be a question for whoever owns the property in the future. Can't say forever. There could be I think there's a fence permit requirement in Princeton. So there's none proposed.
I see Mr. Barr's hand raised again.
Just to address that point, there's been no discussion about fencing between the property lines, between the proposed manor house lot and the proposed school lot. Where there has been some fencing installed is on the public access areas. For instance, on that 6-acre conservation easement, Ridgeview Conservancy has installed a split rail fence to effectively guide the public to stay on the trails and not wander over into the school lot. And if we establish new public access trails, at any point in the future, that's the approach we would likely take.
All right.
There's no plan to install a fence to separate the 2 properties, if that's what you're asking about.
Yes, it was, and that answers the question. Thank you.
Easements, beating those to death. That's number 10.
Yeah, I think those have been covered quite enough at this point.
On to number 11, no proposed signage changes. The Pash sign is going to stay where the Pash sign is. Any proposed signage for Woods and Wayside would be subject to your ordinance.
Okay, so the Pash sign is going to remain. Will that need an easement? I don't know if that's a question for your engineer or our engineer, but just want to make sure that gets covered.
We can include, it makes sense to, and it may already be in this access easement that I have to try to track down, but I think it makes sense to put it in that access easement for the main drive there. It's easy enough.
Okay.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Vehicle traffic is not going to change in terms of entering and exiting the school.
And I think there was testimony last time as well about this subject.
That's right. Applicant should clarify if any other Pash operations will be affected by the subdivision and the sale of the lot. I don't think so. I think it's business as usual at Pash. The fields are all remaining the same through easements that already exist. Parking, the school will lose some parking to the manor house. But again, we'll have that reciprocal agreement in terms of any overflow, that type of thing. So I think we're good there. Applicant shall advise if any trails will be rerouted, especially if the previously subdivided lots intended for residential purposes are indeed developed for such uses. So I think there was testimony by Mr. Barr about that, with the ultimate goal to connect to the east, right? And to have, sidewalk up Great Road, those types of things. So there might be a trail that goes across the middle of the preserve, the new lot that we're creating to connect the 187 acres to whatever would be on the east to connect the trail. So Mr. Barr talked about that a little bit. Sheet 2 of 3 of the plan set includes a note stating that the access road and utilities will remain on lot 4.05 unless it is sold for development. So 4.05 already was sold and it can't be developed.
Yep. So I think that was a remnant from the last approval, the last subdivision approval. I don't know if maybe that needs to be changed at this point, because it is encumbered in that way. But I don't know if
Yeah, I
I'm the
think
one
you're
to
right.
speak to that.
I think Eric, you're talking about his page 2. Yeah, so our plan references that. So I think that should be tightened up, Eric, on
Okay,
because your plan says there is a note stating that access road and utilities will remain on lot 4.05 unless it is sold for development. So I think you can get rid of the unless it is sold for development because it can't be
okay,
sold for development.
correct.
I think we gave sufficient proofs on 16 through testimony for Mr. Rodriguez. Same with 17 from our planner. And I think that's all she wrote on your
That
memo.
that is indeed. Yes. Thank you.
Yep. I don't have anything else, Miss Casey or Mr. Chair. Any other questions that we can answer? Happy to do so.
Okay, board members, do you have any question of any of the witnesses, the applicant, the attorney? So I guess at this point, Mr. Casey, we're going to open this up to the public for comment. Do you want to say anything before we do that?
Yeah, again, thanks for your time and expediting this the way you have. It's greatly appreciated. I'm intimately familiar with the property. As a little kid, I got dragged to church there, and it's a great piece of land. It's something so worthy of being preserved, like Woods and Wayside is proposing. A wonderful school. I think there's just a lot of goodwill built around this. Hopefully, and it sounds from Mr. Barr talking and Kathleen Humora talking as well, who's the head of school, that this is a really exciting endeavor that will continue to preserve beautiful spaces in Princeton. So I would ask that you all please kindly approve our application this evening. And I thank you again for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, we're going to open the meeting to the public. If anybody would like to comment on behalf of this application, indicate that by pressing the raise your hands button at the bottom of the screen, and Claudia will call you and you'll be allowed to comment. Claudia, do you have people who are interested in commenting? Claudia, you're muted.
Sophie Lovier.
Okay,
Sophie, are you there? Sophie,
Can you hear me? Oh, here I am.
We can.
Hello, here I am.
Ma'am,
one second, ma'am. We need to see you.
now we can see her, Claudia. Ma'am,
Okay, I got
are
it.
you comfortable giving us your address, ma'am?
Yes, Sophie Clovier, 68 Drake's Corner Road in Princeton.
Alrighty, and you swear or affirm any testimony you give this evening will be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank you all for considering this application and say that as a neighbor, we are extremely supportive of this plan. We think that the use that Woods Wayside is proposing for the manor house and their plans for the property is really wonderful. as a neighborhood, we've partnered on the preservation of the property, and it's great to see people really using this open space, the 187 acres. I walk there often, and I think that this eventually will only increase access. And I want to commend Wood Wadeside for being really excellent in terms of their communication with all of us as well.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Claudia, can you call the next person, please?
Mr. Chairman, there are no more hands. Do you want to give it a minute?
I will give it a minute, yes. Okay, we're going to close the public portion of the hearing. Once again, Mr. Casey, before we go into executive session, if you'd like to make a statement, sum up, what would you like to do?
No, I submit to the board based upon the testimony given and my last few words that I said. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, board members, at this point, we're going to go into executive session. Questions, comments, motions. I guess I started to ask earlier of Mr. Purcell. So all of the discussions of the easements, the prior work that needed to be taken care of, the updated surveys, if any, that we need, all that can be, and Karen, I guess this is a question for you as well. Can all of that be a condition of approval?
It's fine by me.
If it's acceptable to staff, then yes, that can all be a condition of approval.
Board members, any questions? Comments? Yes, please.
Yeah, I was wondering, I don't know if this is a question to our staff, but would the driveway easement be, would it be better to have some distance around it so in case future widening is needed, it's not literally the driveway that exists right now? Could the easement be required to be expanded somewhat?
Up to the applicant.
I
mean,
you took the words out of my mouth, Steve.
I mean, right now, they're not asking for that.
Yeah.
It's up to them. The other, Bernice, do you have any other?
No, that was
questions?
it. That was it.
Any other questions from board members?
Yeah,
Comments?
I have a question.
Sure, please.
Is the real issue here whether we're allowing themselves to possibly set themselves up for a problem in the future?
David, when you say that, what are you referring to?
You know, if the current sale falls through, or if the school closes down, you know, they're limiting their options. At least this is what I hear in the discussion. And, you know, it seems like they've been warned about this and they're ready to proceed. But am I missing something?
I feel the same way you do. I mean, basically, if this falls through, they have certain options, but they don't have every option.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only question I would ask then is the justification for the subdivision is tied to a conservation, environmental education, passive recreation use. And that's what's that's what's being advanced to support the variance. So if this transaction doesn't happen, then the question becomes, well, I guess what happens then is that the manor house could not be used as a meeting or convention center without further relief. So that aspect, because remember, not only did they ask for a subdivision, but they want those variances to allow the manor house to be used. So in the absence of that, then they would still have this subdivision would still exist. So,
Michael, wasn't that your concern as well?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I don't know. It's a good question. You know, I still have that concern. I realize if, you know, because what they're asking for and the use, you know, the Woods Wayside is much narrower a use, and there's other permitted uses or conditional uses. So I really am supporting the Woods, you know, purpose, that use. And yeah, in perfect world for me, this subdivision would die if something other than sort of a very same or similar use replaces, you know, Woods Wayside. I
mean, one way to look at this is, I mean, this is how it's been presented to you by the applicant. And I guess they'd say that's because they have an entity here, Woods Wayside, and they want to buy it.
Yeah.
And the agreement is get a subdivision and we're going to buy the lot. So I guess the question for Mr. Casey would be, all right, is your client still approaching this, that if this transaction falls through, that the subdivision is tied to someone else using proposed lot 4.06 for conservation, environmental education, and passive recreation?
Yeah, I guess for me, Karen, I guess the question is not to Mr. Casey, it's to Miss Casey, and it's whether we can condition the subdivision approval exactly on that.
Michael, let me ask you something.
Now, I need that question answered from Karen.
Oh, I was going to ask another question. Okay.
I mean, this is how it's being presented to you. As a result of the subdivision, a lot of variances are needed.
Yes.
So the supporting reason for all this is that you will be allowing a wonderful use out there for conservation, for environmental education. So my answer would be yes, I think you can condition it, because that's the justification that's being presented to you.
Yes.
If in future this falls apart and now the school has 2 lots, yes, are there underlying uses? Yeah, there are. But the justification that they've presented through planning and everything else is, oh no, this is a wonderful use. And that's why you should approve this. This is going to promote many things. It will promote master plan goals, purposes of zoning. So that's why my answer is yes, I think you can, if you want to condition it that way. It doesn't necessarily mean it's Woods and Wayside, but it means it's
Yes, understood.
another conservation environmental education group.
So what happens if Woods and Waysides does not purchase it
Right.
and they have another, they can't find another purchaser who's willing to take it on the way it's been is it tentatively approved? Because it's, if they walk, then Michael, are you saying that the use
The subdivision would die.
would die?
The use can stay in, can stay in place because it's pretty specific, but there wouldn't be a need for it anymore. The subdivision would die. And
I mean,
I'd be satisfied with that.
I mean, the lines of the subdivision have been specifically tailored to
Yes.
allow the school to keep what has been agreed upon between the parties and to allow Manor House to have certain improvements. So if their transaction falls apart, now we have two lots that have been pretty much tailored to this purpose. So I don't know, I don't know what, I mean, I'm not sure what the, at this point, having presented it this way to the board, I don't know what else at this stage for the school. I mean, this is the justification, and these zigzag lot lines were created and would be approved by the board because of the totality of what's being done out there. If this was going to be, oh, there might be a residential lot or somebody can buy the Manor House and live there, I don't know if would have these same lot lines.
It's somewhat complicated. I guess in a conventional real estate transaction, Woods and Waysides would be the contract purchaser
Yes,
and would
that's
come before us
right.
for subdivision and approval. And if it didn't go through, they wouldn't buy it. And so, but we have them Woods and Waysides as an interested party right now, and the school as the applicant.
Yeah.
The school's the owner, and
Well, the owner, but the owner and the applicant, right?
It's it. School's the applicant.
Yeah, I mean, but Woods and Waysides is just an interested party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So fine, we're looking to satisfy the school and Woods and Wayside. From my view, that's what we want to do.
if I may, I understand, and it's an interesting point, right? It absolutely is. But if you play it out this way, if the subdivision is approved and the deal with Woods and Wayside falls apart, the school now owns two lots that are in the RA RB zone who operate a school under a conditional use, right? So the school could sell the subdivided lot, the new lot we're creating tonight, to someone who wants to put homes on it. That person would have to get site plan approval and deal with the different messed up setbacks that are kind of all over the place, right, to put a home in there. So whether or not it's a condition of the approval or not, Princeton Academy of the Sacred Heart will still own the dirt, and it will still be in an RA RD zone, and they still could sell it to someone who wants to build homes in there.
That person would have to come before the board to be, oh no, they wouldn't, to be, well, they would.
They would have to come before the planning board.
Yeah.
Not the zoning board, but the planning board, no doubt, if they wanted to put 4 homes and get lot variances and setback variant and all that jazz, they would have to come and do that. Absolutely. So I think my point is like, I don't think you need to make the transaction contingent on the subdivision.
I agree.
Because at the end of the day, all it is doing is drawing a new line that's going to be owned by the same people. If it falls apart, if it falls apart with Woods and Wayside, a new lot line that's got a new lot number We own 2 lots now, and we can sell them to someone who's willing to be creative and still has to get site plan approval and variance relief for bulk variances from the planning board.
But Bob, the justification for this application
Right.
and for the use variance you need, because the FAR is changing now for the Manor House, it's all tied to the fact that this is going to be a public benefit. I mean, I'm looking at your narrative. The proposed use as a school and for preservation education use on the Manor House lot easily satisfies the negative criteria. There will be no detriment to the public good. Quite the opposite, the public will benefit from the use of the trail systems, and it goes on and on talking about that. So
Yeah, but that's the use part of it. That's the use piece. Where it's a bifurcated application. We're here. That's why we're before the zoning board for both things, because that's the use piece that will run with the property no matter what. Right. And that's exactly right. We stand by the narrative, and all the testimony you heard tonight has to do with woods and wayside use. No question about it.
no, you need a use variance because the FAR is being increased. The subdivision of the lot separating Manor House from the Princeton Academy reduces the lot area. So,
Right. So if someone comes to apply to build a house there, right, or houses, they could face the same obstacles, right? FAR, impervious, all the other bulk requirements in the RARB. So I'm not tracking.
so your argument is somebody now approaches Sacred Heart, your deal falls apart. Sacred Heart says, well, we really need to do something with it. You know, we just can't, we didn't really need 2 lots. Okay. And a developer tells you, well, Manor House is very nice, but it's not really what I had in mind. Or Manor House is very nice, and I'm going to, what I'm trying to say is the justification for what you want here, for the relief you're seeking, is all tied to the user, ways and wayside.
What Michael said, Michael, you brought that up earlier.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why we have to repeat it 5 times.
Sorry.
Well, what about other board members? We haven't heard from them. Do you have other thoughts about the topic that we've been now discussing at great length?
Oh, I mean, I don't. I think I can make this easy on everybody, but I still, just the attorney in me doesn't want to.
Okay.
But I'll get over that. I promise. So I mean, in fairness, it probably would be a benefit to the school potentially that, and I just have to think of the mechanics behind perfecting the subdivision and having a transaction with Woods and Wayside. Okay. So if you were to approve our application tonight, contingent upon a transaction to Woods and Wayside, right? That if it doesn't happen, the subdivision goes away and we're back to what we were before, right? The only problem I see with that is the mechanics behind it, right? So I have to record deeds, easements, meet all the conditions of the engineer and the zoning officer, and then Woods and Wayside gives us money for the land, right? So those things are getting recorded before we get a dime from Woods and Wayside. So that's the practical application here. So I understand what everyone is saying, but in practice, it wouldn't be feasible to make it contingent upon the transaction because we need to perfect the subdivision to make the
Well-
transaction happen.
Okay, Bob, either it could be perfect. I mean, all this could be done at closing, meaning everything gets recorded in a certain order. The subdivision deed gets recorded first, then your transactional deed. Or alternatively, if the board's comfortable, if the subdivision deed is signed, it could be held in escrow. So, I mean, there's ways I think we can get around this. It could be done either, as I said, it could be all done on the day of closing. Everything is, we'll give them to you. You'll hold them in escrow. You say, okay, I'm moving ahead now. And your title company records everything in order.
Yeah.
Create the lots, then close. So.
Fair enough. I think that the timing of that makes it more cumbersome, but I agree, Karen. I mean, I think you're right there. So if it's going to mean that you guys have extreme trepidation about approving this application, which I hope you do not, because it's a great application, I think, selfishly, then make it a condition of approval.
That sounds good to me. The point that Mr. Casey made, I guess maybe it's correct. I don't really follow it because all the conditions that the board and staff put on, aren't you going to perfect all those before the transaction goes through anyway? It's not going to be after the fact.
No, I think that, well, I think I understand what you're saying. Is exactly what I was saying. Is like that would all have to happen and then we get their money. So what Karen is suggesting is that we have it all teed up and ready to go, which is fine. Just having done these applications where it's hard to get all the pieces together to have, so that's all, just practical consideration, but it's doable.
Seems to make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would support that.
So would I, but who can, I'd like to make a motion, but I'm not sure I can.
I'm in the similar boat, actually. Seems to me, I can't think of any reason why we would be here tonight if there was a serious concern that this sale would not go through. But I know that's not necessarily enough for some people, but I think
Bernice, was that a motion?
Well, I think everybody is expressing hesitation about the wording of it, so maybe Karen could assist with that. But I think,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
we're
that a
in
yes?
favor of the concept behind that we're discussing.
All righty. Well, if someone were to make a motion to approve the application, it could include the following conditions: that the applicant would comply with the comments in the engineering and zoning memo and the planning memo as has been reviewed in detail tonight. It would also be conditioned on the guess it would be proposed lot 4.06 being conveyed to Woods and Wayside for conservation, environmental education, and passive recreation, or I guess to a similar entity who would pursue the same purposes. So if Woods and Wayside falls apart, then I guess the school's got another opportunity to have another conservation group who's going to pursue the same goals, etc. So those are the conditions that I think we have discussed tonight. And as part of those conditions, I mean, there was a lot of discussion about the identification of all the easements, but I think for the purposes of the resolution, what you'll see is I can go through now the memo and the comments and flesh that out. But for the purposes of tonight, I'm proposing we simply say, as has been discussed in detail tonight with the applicant.
Then you'll craft a resolution. which
Correct, correct.
can
And
circulate.
you'll see it, and Mr. Casey will see it all in advance, so everyone can review it.
Bernice, all you have to do is say so moved.
So moved. I'm in favor of that.
Well, we need it.
Mr. Casey?
We need a second.
Well, but I think you're saying the same thing, but that the minor subdivision is approved, that the
Yeah.
uses are approved, that the bulk variances are approved.
Correct,
Okay, good.
correct.
Understood.
So Bernice has made a motion.
I'm
And-
seconding it.
And Eve seconded it. Do we have, and is there any discussion? Boy, this is a good one. Is there any discussion on the motion? Well, there will,
No.
okay, no discussion of the motion. Claudia, can you call the roll?
Ms. Chen,
Yes.
Ms. Coulson,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Mr. Stein,
Yes.
Sharon Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, we're approved.
Rika,
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everybody. I know it's a lot going on here, but greatly appreciated and wasn't easy. And thanks again for your time. I appreciate it.
And good presentation.
luck with the whole sale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Here's to Pash.
And
Karen,
great.
good luck in writing it up. We look forward to seeing it.
Yes. Thank you, Karen.
and great staff memos.
I appreciate
Thank you.
Mr.
Great,
Purcell's
great
tenacious-
staff memos.
Great staff memos.
James, thanks for your participation. Nathan, too. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
your participation tonight.
This was
Yeah,
complicated,
absolutely. Yeah.
to say the least.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night,
Hi.
Okay,
everybody.
so
Good night.
we're adjourned. This is the end of it.
Oh yeah,
Thank you
nobody
all.
adjourned.